All right, everybody. Hope you're doing well. Welcome to another We've Read the Documents live stream. Your host, John Brisson. Thank you for being a subscriber. If you want to support my work, buy me a coffee/We've Read. If you want to subscribe to my work, search We've Read the Documents on Patreon, Odyssey, and Substack. Substack gives you the most access to my content. You get my written work and my Spotify stream, so you can listen to my video casts in podcast form. Here with me, I have my research partner and fellow brother in Christ, S90, with me to discuss Palantir Worldwide. How are you doing, S90? You doing well?
Thanks, John, for having me on. Hope everyone's doing well.
Of course, need to have you on sooner rather than later. Everybody asks for you.
Yeah. Well,
So,
I'm glad people
as they should ask for you.
But I'm sorry, I'm still looking for something for the show here, so you continue on.
Yeah, I'll refer a second. So, I've covered Palantir extensively on this channel and in written form on my Substack. There's something that S90 and I have noticed. I had discussed Palantir Worldwide on a podcast once with fellow brother in Christ researcher William Ramsey, dear friend of the show. Go check out his podcast, William Ramsey Investigates. And this is kind of us discussing it again of how much Palantir has its tentacles as a multi-tentacled octopus in through private public partnerships, through various governments, various entities like the United Nations, various public corporations throughout the entire world, and kind of how it relates to Peter Thiel naming his companies based off of the Lord of the Rings, and you have the one ring to rule them all, right? And so we have one company to rule them all with Palantir. So today we're going to talk about numerous vast connections that Palantir has to United States government, corporations in the United States, and governments around the world. Seem about right, S90? Am I
Kind of. But
summary? Go ahead.
Like I know it seems silly that they use Lord of the Rings metaphors and names for a lot of their companies and stuff, but they really do take it seriously. You know how if you I don't know, you say Spider-Man's a DC universe hero, someone would come in, a comic book bro would come in and be like, actually, right, he's Marvel. And so in this case, when you say that Palantir is kind of the one company to rule them all, that's not necessarily it. It's almost like Palantir is Sauron and they're making the ring itself. Right? They are the evil entity that is creating the evil object, almost in a way. In the way that, so how do we do this? We've got Palantir. For those who don't know a lot about Lord of the Rings, it's essentially a crystal ball that allows the ultra evil guy of that world to sort of spy on the other crystal balls wherever they are. And so if someone touches it, they get like a direct, it's almost like a mind link to the bad guy, and he can see your thoughts and kind of like taunt you and try to, tempt you and stuff. And so that's why they named their spying company Palantir, right? They are the digital equivalent of this fantasy imagined magical technology. They're the real version of this. And there's a company called Anduril, and they make drone weapon systems.
Palmer Luckey's company.
Palmer Luckey, yes. I believe he was one of the guys who made, it was Oculus VR.
Correct, yes.
Yeah, and he was also the guy who was behind that VR headset that kills you when you die in the game. It was
that was a modified of Oculus that he claimed he was going to only make one, so that if you died in the game, you died in real life, and he was kind of
exactly. And it was just a joke.
Supposedly
allegedly. I totally get that. But that is also him. So we're just going to say that's the kind of mindset of this guy. So he manufactures border defense drone weapons.
And hold on, one more thing about Palmer Luckey I want to just mention. One more thing about him is his sister is Ginger Luckey, who is married to Matt Gaetz. So he is Matt Gaetz' brother-in-law. I want to make that known. Okay? Continue.
Very interesting. See what a tangled web these people weave.
Yes.
And so Anduril, his company that manufactures drone weapons, undersea and in the air. And I'd like to point out recently, less than a week ago, they posted the preview of their underwater drone weapon
Submariner
systems.
weapon
Yeah,
systems.
yeah. I'm sorry. Anyway, the and the title of their post was simply "As above, so below." And of course, to the layman's mind, that means, oh, like in the sky, we're going to have drone weapon systems in the ocean. But to those of us who know, there's something dark and evil going on here. So if we look at the Lord of the Rings lore again here, he named his company after the sword that the human king wields, that's full of magical power that he basically uses to reunite the human kingdom and fight off the bad guy. Named Anduril after Aragorn's sword. It's essentially, I think it was called the Flame of the West. What an interesting sort of, right wing kind of name, I guess we'll call it, given the current times we live in and the way people
American
see things.
exceptionalism, right? The sword of
Yeah,
the
so
West.
the Flame of the West. So he's
Flame of the
making
West,
drone
yes.
weapon systems. Palantir, the spying device, is creating essentially spying devices. Go figure. Mithril Capital is one of their investment funds. And again, if we look at this lore-wise, Mithril is sort of like a chainmail vest, but it's much stronger than steel. It's magically stronger than steel, and it'll protect you from anything. No one can cut you through a mithril sweater. And so I guess mithril, maybe it's sort of, they consider it a defensive fund for their operations. That one I fully don't. I kind of don't fully understand. But so what we've got going on now is they've recently commented that they're building one program to rule them all. Those are the exact words that the Palantir employee used to describe their most recent project and partnership with the US government. And so first, I just wanted to cover a few of their other connections to other branches of government first, before we look at this newest one that they're working on.
So now
that's what we got on screen here. And so all I typed into Google was Palantir Foundry API. And so this is Foundry is essentially, how do I put it? It's kind of like an operating system upon which other programs operate. An API is an application programming interface. It's basically a set of rules that allow different programs to communicate with each other. It's kind of how different apps work on your phone, right? And Google has their own API. Amazon has their own web API that you have to license and pay for to use as a bedrock for you to build your own application on. And so Palantir has their own API called Foundry, an apt name for something where you build more things from. Okay, fine, whatever. And no real Lord of the Rings vibes, I suppose. Foundry is a place where you cast metal and you make things, and so anyway, Foundry API, they license out to other companies, and they'll send experts to help them set it up and get it running. And as far as I'm aware, it's also, as with everything in the 21st century, a subscription service. Go figure. And so I just typed in Palantir Foundry API, and the Google autocomplete gave me all these little tabs I could click on here with all the just quick summaries. And then so it was like, does the FBI use Palantir? And it was like, before this, most of the databases used by the CIA and FBI were siloed, forcing users to search each database individually. Now everything's linked together using Palantir. Great.
Yeah, and so real quick, I just want to mention that Foundry is known as a software as a service part of the cloud, meaning they're offering software through the Palantir cloud operations that are also able to auto scale. Means the infrastructure grows and shrinks depending on one's needs, and it's all powered by the artificial AI, which is the central to all of Palantir's various offerings, whether it's Gotham for governments and law enforcement and military, or Foundry for businesses, and Warp Speed for businesses and distribution, for example, which is Palantir Apollo, which I've covered on this channel before. Go ahead.
They also have Metropolis, which is for financial data.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so they have all these different versions of Foundry that they've written for different sectors of human civilization, basically military ones, financial ones, medical ones, etc. And they've been distributing these through almost what's a almost feels like a multi-level marketing scam, but I can't call it a scam because it's not, because it's obviously legal somehow, right? They wouldn't have got away with this for this long. But this is described by a person who worked selling these programs, and this person oversaw a partnership with Accenture, another Peter Thiel company. And basically what they do is this is how he describes it. He says, this is how the partnership program is how Palantir is allowed to scale without having to hire and train their own people. The consulting and engineering firms listed as partners make money in two ways. One, by reselling Palantir's platforms, and two, bill by the hour for implementation and service engineering and upkeep. So essentially, they're kind of like a franchise. They're almost like Wendy's, right? They're licensing companies as partners so that they can go out and install this software in their clients' computers. And through this is spread incredibly far. And I sent you a bunch of pictures like this one on the screen now. I think you may have them pulled up just to like flip through, and we can look at them real quickly. So it's like, oh, that was for later, of course.
Okay,
but
so
yeah,
let me get to the one.
Ones.
Let me get to the one. So here we go. So here's the Department of Homeland Security.
Yeah. So this is how Palantir partnered with DHS.
2022, that support investigations into human trafficking, drug smuggling, and transnational criminal organization. Remember, Trump, before he left office, signed an executive order for the investigation and the breakdown and dismantling of transnational criminal organizations, okay, during his first administration. So they're working with the contract was worth $95.9 million over a 5-year period. So they were using Palantir Gotham.
And so, Homeland Security investigations were using investigative case management software from Palantir. So they're hanging out with DHS. That's fine. Who else we got?
Here we have the Department of Justice.
A Department of Justice blanket purchase agreement. Interesting. Okay, that's nice.
And then here we have
ICE.
The ICE using it as far as back as 2017, which we know still continued through the Biden administration, through the virtual border wall and Industries, and now just re-upped. ICE just paid Palantir tens of millions for complete target analysis of known populations. A moment of reckoning has arrived for the West. Our culture has fallen too shallow in consumerism while abandoning national purpose. Too few in Silicon Valley have asked what ought to be built and why. We did. We built Palantir to ensure Americans' future, not to tinker at the margins of the factory floor and the operating room across the battlefield. We built to dominate. Join us. This is put on college campuses to get people to join Palantir instead of going to college. Yeah. And
so that's ICE again.
So there you have ICE modern now. For what's going on now, the contract is as far as using Gotham to identify people, using information through the Real ID to identify people. Time. Yes, so they're doing this right now, okay? Last week, ICE paid contracting giant Palantir tens of millions of dollars to make modifications to a powerful ICE database and search tool to allow complete target analysis of known populations and update the tool's targeting and enforcement priorities. There you go.
So, the next one we have is
FBI.
The FBI. Yeah, so we got them in the FBI. They got their fingers in the FBI's pie. Next one's CIA, I believe.
Yes, correct.
Yeah, CIA.
CIA and NSA.
Yeah, and this one shouldn't be too hard to get your head around because In-Q-Tel funded Palantir, and In-Q-Tel is the tech branch of the CIA.
Correct.
Not even a question.
So we have the NSA.
NSA, yeah.
We have health through Operation
CDC,
Tiberius
HHS, FDA, NIH, and Veterans Affairs, and this is from their own website. That was the wrong David Davis.
Yeah, correct. We don't need to look at this.
So don't just ignore that. And
then here we have the IRS currently as well.
There was also a FEMA one too. From portable.io.
It should be right here. Yes.
Yep. So and there they are with FEMA. So they've got their finger in literally every pie at this point of the federal government
that we know of. Yes.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, we can cover that in a second. We can cover Maven in a second. But yeah, if you go back to two over, where was it? It was the No. That was the partnership program. Oh yeah, here's a bunch of other companies they partnered with.
United Airlines, CVS Health. Interestingly enough, I saw Wendy's.
This is not a complete list.
No, not at all. No,
there's no way. So yeah, so they've got that. I just wanted to show kind of, yeah, they've got their fingers everywhere. They hung out with Ferrari. They're with IBM.
Amazon
They're
Web
with
Services,
Amazon,
Google Cloud,
Google.
General
They're with the people who
Dynamics,
do. They're with people who do elevators.
In-Q-Tel, Wendy's.
Wendy's.
Now, the interesting
Like,
thing, what they're doing for Wendy's is they're literally putting forth an AI automated pricing services so that when, let's say, you go get a burger at 3, it might be cheaper and a hot price than when you go get a burger when they're more busy at noon, where the price is higher. That's literally
I've
what
heard
Wendy's
that.
is
Yeah,
using Palantir for. Literally right now, they're
really,
testing it. Yes.
That's wow. Yeah, see, they got okay. They literally have their finger in your burger, people. Right? This is not a nobody, and I'm sure a lot of people here already kind of know the importance of this. But let's show how far they've spread and how far into their weird Lord of the Rings delusional LARP that they actually are.
Yes. So where do you want me to go now?
Well, yeah. So that's just their partnership program.
Booz
Again,
Allen
Booz
Hamilton.
Allen, yeah. This is how they spread out. Fourth Age. That's an interesting company. I'll have to look that up.
Fujitsu,
Microsoft, IBM. That North Slope company is a big one.
Oracle. So Operation
Oracle, yeah.
Stargate.
But that North Face, I have to go look them up more. Down one more. Down somewhere. It was called North Face. Down more, under N.
Yeah.
They're North Slope, yeah. That's a big company founded by a 100% Palantir alumnus, and it does government contracts also. So that's an interesting one. So I just wanted to see kind of just how far they'd spread out at this point. And let's just say it's, pretty much everywhere. Like there's almost no big company that they probably haven't been approached by at this point, right?
Correct.
That they haven't approached in general. Yeah, Scuda Ferrari, IBM, Amazon, just everything, IBM, right? It's just so much stuff. And those were people just talking about that. That was an interesting video. I haven't watched that yet. Yep, so we can close most of that.
We can play this video real quick and give a little commentary.
Yeah, sure. I don't even know what it is.
The U.S. defense sector is about to undergo a massive transformation. Palantir, Anduril, OpenAI, and SpaceX are teaming up to bid on some of the country's most critical defense contracts. This partnership could change everything we know about military technology.
So though Musk is so-called beefing with Sam Altman of OpenAI on X, how much is that really true?
So, what does this mean for the future of defense? Let's find out. First off, let's break down who's involved here. We've got Palantir, a tech company known for its powerful data analytics tools used in defense and intelligence operations. Then there's Anduril, a company making waves in autonomous defense systems.
The drone weapon system.
OpenAI, the brains behind ChatGPT, is all about artificial intelligence. And finally, SpaceX, which isn't just about rockets anymore. These companies are all joining forces, combining their expertise in AI, autonomous vehicles, and space tech. But why does this matter? For years, the US military has relied on big defense contractors like Lockheed Martin and Boeing. These companies have dominated the scene, but there's been a growing push to bring new technologies into the fold. AI, autonomous systems, and even space technologies are becoming essential parts of modern warfare. Why? Because the world is changing fast, and so is warfare. Think about...
So yeah, I mean, it's all of them working together, which is obviously, you can prove that very easily. Very easily. Interesting, you have a quote from a Peter Diamandis interview with Palmer Luckey saying all his, technological wonders out of Anduril Industries is this isn't science fiction anymore. S90.
I just sent you the. We could just play the Anduril Industries, the 2 tweets I sent you. One's 8 seconds because it's just a teaser, but I had to include.
Yeah, I've covered this. It's crazy.
Okay.
We'll go ahead and show it.
All right. Yeah, it's actually quite. The animation's pretty incredible.
As above, so below.
Yeah. So that was just. This is just a teaser that they uploaded a couple days before. It's not really anything. But the full video kind of shows you the scope of their planning here. Yeah, this is the full quote-unquote release. Whoever commands the sea commands the world, which is a very Atlanticist thing to say. If I was Alexander Dugin. And if anyone's seen Ender's Game, the movie, the upcoming scene here, I think he's been watching too much Ender's Game, which would fit with their obsession with science fiction and fantasy. I know it sounds stupid, but these science fiction authors exist to create ideas that then become reality in the
Well,
future.
the World Future Society pretty much said that was the case.
Exactly. You define the future before it even occurs. And this is the scene here I'm talking about where they create a vortex of the missiles themselves create a shield, like he uses the drones in Ender's Game. This is almost a one-for-one recreation of that movie.
Then they destroy the ships, right?
No, they destroy the coastline.
And it shows America.
Heck yeah.
All right,
So
continue.
they're on too much fiction. They're on too much fantasy, you know? But these people have too much money also. It's really frustrating. It really is frustrating. And so I wanted to do you want to cover the we can cover the NATO sale of Maven first.
Yeah.
We can go to the Golden Dome. Right,
NATO
so-
buys Palantir AI warfare Maven software system. Palantir has finalized the sale of an artificial intelligence-enabled warfare fighting system to NATO, the U.S.-European Mutual Defense Alliance. Palantir stock climbed on Monday amid the news. News release: the NATO Communications Information Agency said Allied Command Operations has purchased the Palantir Maven smart system for deployment at its military headquarters. We know that Palantir is directly working with the Ukrainian government and the Israeli government as well, too. So this should be no surprise that they're working to arm NATO, too.
Yeah, and before anyone says that, how is Palantir working with NATO? I have an exact example. They distributed what are known as, I believe, sky boxes or sky crates to the soldiers, which contain things like a laptop, a drone, the controller. It's essentially a communications package. And the Palantir sky boxes have been given to Ukrainian soldiers.
That were hooked up to the internet through Starlink,
Yes.
through SpaceX, and
So, I don't want to hear any bunkum about,
Elon Musk.
you know, I don't want to hear any of this partisan junk anymore. There's only one elite, and they're all against us. And it doesn't matter if they fight with each other; they're still just against us, right? So it's not left, right. It's not black, white. You know.
So, let's see here. The agreement has a broader geopolitical significance. It's just another win for Palantir in the context of investor concerns that Europe is looking to decrease reliance on U.S. defense contractors. Maven Smart System is Palantir's battlefield situational awareness platform that aggregates data from the multitude of sources to present a common operating picture. It's being widely deployed by U.S. forces. The NATO announcement emphasized how software procurement was one of the fastest in NATO's history, reflecting the critical need to acquire the software.
So I just want to point out one thing. It says it's been deployed already. Its first actual usage that I can find in any sort of actual combat situation. Yeah, I'll cover that in just one sec. The use in actual conflict of Project Maven was in the 2021 Kabul airlift. So it's what? It's so great it caused the Kabul airlift to be what it was? Is that what I can infer from this?
Yeah.
Anyway, it was also used in the Russian war in Ukraine. The U.S. has used satellite intelligence and Maven smart system to supply the locations of Russian equipment to Ukrainian forces.
And to remind people what the Kabul airlift real quick is, that's when they had the quick evacuation from Afghanistan, which is
When
seen as a
Biden
military
messed it up.
failure of the Biden administration. Yes.
Biden's hugest failure. Well, that was run on the back of Palantir. And I want to go over it really quickly. Two things. The last usage was in February 2024. Maven was used for narrowing targets for airstrikes in Iraq and Syria, and was also used in locating rocket launchers in Yemen and surface vessels in the Red Sea, some of which were destroyed in February of 2024. If we quickly look at the history of Project Maven, it was originally known as Algorithmic Warfare Cross-Functional Team, whatever, is a Pentagon project involving using machine learning and data fusion to process data from many sources, identify potential targets, display information through a user interface, and transmit human decisions to weapon systems. Transmit human decisions to weapon systems. Okay? So if the decision to fire Z missiles is taken out of human hands, it will be by Project Maven. Okay? This was started by the Pentagon and eventually was outsourced to Google. Do you remember the 2018 Google walkouts?
Yes.
That was because of this project, because of Google's cooperation and taking over Project Maven. That was one of the biggest reasons for the Google walkouts.
Wow. Okay. I did not know that.
As a result of those walkouts, Google did not renew its contract with the Pentagon. Who took over after Google?
Palantir.
Ding, ding, ding. And they sold this to NATO just now, 3 days ago. Okay? So, and I just wanted to point, yeah, that was fun. I always like looking up the origin of words and names. Maven, a name of American origin, signifies someone who is an expert or connoisseur in a particular field. It's derived from the Yiddish word Maven.
Meaning expert or
Yiddish.
connoisseur. It's Yiddish. Yes. Love Cat in the chat. Shout, Love Cat, hope you're doing well. The word Maven comes from the Yiddish Maven, meaning one who understands. But to be a Maven, you have to be more than just understand a topic. You have to know its ins and outs. You have to be an expert.
Yes, exactly. So it's funny. It's an American Yiddish word. These people really love certain things, don't they? And here we go. Let's get to the Golden Dome. We're going to have a dome. It's going to be golden. It's going to be much better than the Iron Dome.
Because it's going to be gold in the golden age. Welcome to the theosophical golden age of America.
And who, tell me who is going to build this Golden Dome for Donald Trump?
Elon Musk and SpaceX, which we've already known because of True Anomaly, which is the true purpose of SpaceX, which is Narya Capital, which is J.D. Vance, which is Peter Thiel.
And Narya Capital is named after what ring in Lord of the Rings? Oh, Gandalf's magical ring. These people can't help themselves from outing themselves. This is pathetic. Let's keep going on here. So, SpaceX is the front runner to build the Golden Dome, but they can't do it alone, my friends. Musk's rocket and satellite company is partnering with software maker Palantir and drone builder Anduril to create key parts of the Golden Dome, sources have said.
It's all three of them working together, right? SpaceX, Anduril Industries, and Palantir. Literally,
Nothing
Peter
to
Thiel,
see here.
Elon Musk, and Palmer Luckey, right? There's no there's no true bidding for these companies. It's just handed to them, right?
This has been the plan all along, my friend.
Trust the plan.
And so let's just quickly see what they plan to do. What are they going to do? What is the Golden Dome, my friends? Because it's not going to be ground-based rockets shooting down other rockets like the Iron Dome. That would be crude and barbaric and basic, wouldn't it? That wouldn't be befitting of America's time and space-bending technology.
In space!
In space! Right. So what are they going to do? The three companies met with top Trump officials at the Pentagon in recent weeks to pitch their plan, which would build and launch 400 to more than 1,000 satellites circling the globe to sense missiles and track their movements. So they're going to have 1,000 satellites just watching everything all the time in case a missile comes on. You know how people say that it's like, well, the Alexa's always listening to you because how does it know when you say, Alexa, wake up, right? Well, this is the same thing. Unless you're looking all the time, how can you be looking for missiles? So they're just going to watch everything all the time. Okay. And, my friends, a separate fleet of 200 attack satellites armed with missiles or lasers would bring down enemy missiles, three of the sources says. The SpaceX group is not expected to be involved in the weaponization of these satellites, however, the sources said. Huh. Can I play you... first, I want to show you an article real quick, my friend.
Okay.
This is from 2013. There you go. And about
Is it in space?
halfway. Oh, most is in space. Lots of space. If you scroll down until you see like a capsule, that thing. So just go stop right there. Go up a little bit. Just up a little bit. Right. My friends. It says here, the one with the red line. So it says here, he was influenced, he says, by Isaac Asimov's Foundation series, a science fiction saga in which a galactic empire falls and ushers in a dark age. It's sort of a futuristic version of Gibbon's Decline and Fall of the Roman Empire. Let's say you were at the peak of the Roman Empire. What would you do? What action would you take to minimize decline? So the book he's referring to, Isaac Asimov's Foundation series.
World Future Society member Isaac Asimov. World Future Society member Isaac Asimov.
Yes, and pervert, I believe, right?
Pedophile. Go ahead.
Yes, so pervert.
His son was caught with the largest collection of child pornography in California history and got a slap on the wrist. I will cover it. I'm trying to get Simon Dovey on, who wrote Eye of the Chicken Hawk, in the hope that we can discuss North Fox Island pedophile ring and the Asimov's connections through another World Future Society member, Aristotle Starchild's involvement. So, all right, go ahead.
One weird cookie.
Oh,
Starchild boy.
Oh, yes.
Right. So, Isaac Asimov's Foundation series. There's a galactic human empire. We're on, thousands of planets. Blah blah blah. And there's an emperor who kind of rules over it all. The Emperor of Humanity. And in order to cheat death, this is kind of a side note, but it sort of sets the tone. The emperor, there are 3 emperors at any one time. There is a child, a middle-aged man, and an elderly man. And they're all essentially clones of the same person. One is the old version of him who's 80, one's the middle-aged version who's 40, and one is the child who is being raised by the other 2. And then the old man will die and the middle-aged man will become the old man, etc. Right? So they've got this triune dictatorship emperor, and it's sort of the middle-aged one is kind of the one in charge, but he can be overridden by the other 2, 2 to 1, right? But mostly everything goes pretty smoothly in this book series. And what happens is this guy comes up with a math formula that tells him the future. It's all stupid, okay? All this science fiction bunkum is stupid. Don't really take it seriously. But this is where they draw their inspiration from, right? This is why they call their company Palantir, Narya, Anduril. This is why Elon Musk says, I love Isaac Asimov. When Elon Musk says, I love Isaac Asimov's Foundation series, this scene from this show comes to mind. I hope we can play some of this. This is from someone else's channel. They have this clip up. It hasn't been copyright struck. I hope we can play this. Okay, this is the middle-aged emperor talking to someone who's trying to kind of expose that the empire is, not as glorious, and the golden age isn't real. And so the emperor captures this sort of reporter lady, and it's what he says he does to sort of erase her from erase her from existence that kind of bothers me in the context of everything we've discussed here. Okay? So just play a little bit of it now.
We love one another in our own way. I'm sure you find that hard to believe. Do you ever think about your legacy, Azira? The mark you leave behind after you're gone. As a child, I wanted to be better than the Cleons who came before. Smarter, braver, more dazzling than the justice I handed out. But as I matured, my aspirations evolved. I no longer wanted to be the best. I wanted to be the same. Predictable courage, predictable justice. I wanted my son to be the same, too. Another Cleon, perfectly Cleon.
He's not your son.
Of course he is. He is my brother. He is also my son. I rocked him as a baby. I cultivated him just as you've nurtured the plants in this garden. It's a powerful thing, caring for a life.
Why are you telling me all of this?
Because of all the galaxy's citizens, you have the singular distinction of having robbed me of my personal legacy. Which leads me to your legacy.
Anything you want to say right now about this S90?
Not yet. No, I'm actually behind. I can't hear it through here, so I'm
Okay.
watching it on the stream.
I know you're not the architect of this plot, but you are the face of it. The face that broke my son's heart. We traced your family tree back to your great-great-grandparents, and then identified all living descendants branching out from those 16 individuals. Not just direct descendants, but all the aunts and uncles. First and second cousins, removed or otherwise. Do you know how many people we uncovered? 712. Then we located all your friends and lovers, past and present. First boy you kissed, the young woman you gave your virginity to, your teachers and co-workers, even those here on the palace grounds. We located their parents and siblings, basically anyone in your extended orbit. That amounted to another 839 individuals. 1,551 people. The sum total of lives you've made a meaningful mark on. In short, the people who would remember you after you're gone. Even as we speak, every member of your personal constellation is under our surveillance. A particle beam targeting each of their brain stems. At my signal, they will all cease to exist. They're all gone. Your legacy has been erased, Azura. Whatever minute waves your being managed to propagate throughout the universe have been canceled out. You will be placed in an automated cell and fed intravenously. Restrained so as to prevent self-harm.
So essentially, he uses space satellite lasers to erase anyone who would ever know that someone was missing and then take them prisoner forever. And that's Elon Musk's favorite book. And that's what he's doing in real life. And I'm not supposed to see any parallels between these two. Get real.
Yeah, with what's happening as far as the coming technology, the coming beast system, and people being deported to camps, whether in El Salvador or United States or wherever. So, yeah, I mean, yeah.
If people can't, I know everyone in the chat already sees it. It's like this, it's the people who don't see your channel, man. And the people who still believe in all this. Oh, that was funny. Project Maven uses synthetic aperture. You're getting me all twist off here. Synthetic aperture radar, which is what those scientists claimed they used to scan the pyramids.
The Great Pyramids of Giza!
The giant city under the Great Pyramids of Giza was allegedly scanned using that technology, but it doesn't scan more than a few centimeters beneath the surface, so it couldn't have found anything under there. So stop believing the lies, people.
Yeah,
you know,
you're gonna see more of it. You're gonna see more of it come to fruition. That
you
is
will.
for sure.
And honestly, we're at the point now. Like, remember how it used to be? You can't believe anything the news media tells you, and you have to get your stuff from alternative sources. Well, the pendulum is swinging the other way. I guarantee you, anyone who's hearing this, anything you hear from a truth teller at this point, go look it up for yourself. Us included. Please, especially if, and I hate to say this to be maybe arrogant, but especially if it's not us. If it's Alex Jones saying something is happening, go double check. Just go double check, people. That's all I do. This is all I do. I double check what people say.
And we
usually lying.
And we do get things wrong, as we are human.
Of course.
And if someone can prove it, we'll obviously change our position on things.
I'm happy to be wrong. I just want to know what's really going on. And so if someone else comes in with some other evidence, please throw it in the mix. Like, we're kind of making an open hot pot here. Throw the ingredients in if you got them, right? If they're good.
So here we have someone asking, what's the difference between the partner and client? In Palantir's case, ambiguity. Partners offer Palantir as a service on their platforms. Clients use the AIP, Foundry, etc. It's quite a bit different. Being part of the big guys is huge for Palantir because it means they're probably not trying to emulate them.
Yeah, they're not trying to steal their business, and they're furthering their. This is the post from the person who claims they sold and oversaw a partnership with Accenture, and this is sort of the multi-level marketing of it, right? They license their software
as a service platform.
Yeah, to smaller engineering firms who then go out and install it everywhere they are contracted to. So just because Palantir has a contract with the FBI, that's direct to Palantir, right? But there are also contracts with Palantir through its partnership program. So their spread is way bigger than it would appear if you're just looking at Palantir alone. Palantir partners with yeah, but who are then Palantir has their underlings that they license to who are also partnering with stuff. So I mean, I wouldn't want to speculate what percentage of operating systems Palantir is basically installed on at this point. But let's just say that if like Palantir had a glitch one day, it would be catastrophic. You know?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure most of the governmental and corporation services around the entire globe would shut down.
They essentially have the ability to do, like they've got everything from like the IRS, the healthcare services. They've got deals with banks and automakers. They've got deals with cities to manage traffic lights, manage healthcare data. They've got the they are the in-between. So get this. They have somehow managed to insert themselves in between NATO command and the weapons in their arsenal. They have managed to walk in between NATO command and their weapons and say, yo, you tell me you want them fired, and I'll fire them for you.
No, it's even crazier. Through Palantir Apollo, the AI makes the decision whether or not the weapons are fired.
Quote, unquote, human approval, which I'm sure is easy.
They give the option for non-human approval. S90.
Oh wow!
They give the I covered that in my Palantir Apollo stream. They give the. I mean, literally, this is Minority Report on steroids.
But it's not just Minority Report. It's like war games too.
Yeah, how many movies do we need to list? Like how many examples do we need to give?
All of them, and that's kind of what I've said is that everyone says it's all predictive programming. Yes, but not in the way that people think. They're not telling you. The films don't exist to tell you what the Illuminati is going to do. It exists to instill a phantom fear of something that could happen, to steer you in a direct, like it is the stick that chases you until you get to the carrot, and then you eat the carrot, and then suddenly the stick stops chasing you because it wanted you to eat the carrot. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, I would say sometimes that is their achievable goal. Another achievable goal is to desensitize you, or to make people say, "Well, that's Hollywood. That's not going on right now." That as well too.
But the opposite of that
deniability.
Too. So that was sort of the Alex Jones. That was sort of the original, the OG conspiracy take on it, right? Was that like the Alex Jones take was like, folks, they make things like the X-Files. So that when you talk to people about aliens, they'll say, "Oh, you watch too much X-Files." But I think it's either or also the opposite, where like I saw a video from a guy on TikTok that one of my friends who doesn't really know anything about any of this sent me. He sent me one about the pyramids, and it was this guy, and he was talking about how, well, they found tunnels underneath the pyramids, so it must be Stargate. People's only frame of reference is the fiction that they've consumed. It's like The Matrix. It's like Stargate. It's like Star Trek, right? So they've actually boxed in people's frame of reference into fiction. You can only interpret things through references to fictional stories, which is exactly what we would expect to see that's kind of what I've been positing about science fiction, is that it existed to write the future in people's minds, similar to how Back to the Future got people saying, where's my self-tying shoes? Where's my hoverboard? The rest of science fiction existed to also do the same. Where's my spaceship? Where's my colony? Where's my
it goes from
health extension?
It
life
goes
extension?
it goes from James Shelby Downard and Michael Hoffman's revelation of the method.
King Kill 33. Yeah.
Well, yeah, but through disclosure, World Future Society talks about that. Barbara Marx Hubbard would talk about that, and that they were initiating the population through science fiction to accept eventually these lion signs of wonders from the white hats, right, that are disclosed to the world, right? That's why you have med beds being used in World Future Society members' work, Star Trek, Gene Roddenberry. So, that is, and then Revelation of the Method got hijacked by the Theosophists, like the Neo-Theosophist David Icke, to be made, well, the elites have to do these things to wash their karma, which is complete bullcrap biblically.
Yes. That is baloney. You cannot find that anywhere. You cannot.
It's theosophical. It's a theosophical cover-up for the truth of the Revelation of the Method, which basically was written about in the OG Truther, Alice Bailey's work. You're not using that specific word, but what it means is the externalization of the hierarchy, the disclosure of the white hats to the world and their secret technology and their religion, etc. That's what that is.
The neo-theosophist Philip Lindsay calls it the return of the lords of the flame, or something like that. Mm-hmm. It's essentially just Ascended Masters bunkum, but people still believe this to this day, and there are a lot more than you'd think, a lot more than you'd expect. But I mean, this whole situation, that's the one thing we didn't cover. Was the IRS. Okay, so the Palantir at the IRS.
No, I talked about that. I brought it up.
No, but there's a second article. So
there is.
I sent you that, and then in it links to a second one, hackathon. It links to this article, the second one, 5UZJZ, and it's a Wired article called "DOGE is planning a hackathon at the IRS, and it wants to access taxpayer data." Now, to wrap this up in a nice little Lord of the Rings bow. You scroll down until you see Elon's empire.
Hold on, it does interesting say the goal is to create a single mega API, a bridge that lets software systems talk to one another for accessing IRS data. Okay, that's crazy.
Yes, so that is what they're doing at the IRS right now with DOGE. And then the person who is, you can read that too, Sam Korkos, it's right at the top, two top DOGE operatives at the IRS, Sam Korkos and Gavin Kleiger, are helping orchestrate the hackathon, sources tell Wired. Korkos is a health tech CEO with ties to Musk's SpaceX. Okay, Kilger attended UC Berkeley until 2020 and worked with an AI company, Databricks, before joining DOGE. Now, I'm going to point out Databricks has a partnership with Palantir that I didn't mention because I didn't know who they were. Now I do. So Kilger was with Databricks before joining DOGE, yada, yada, yada. Korkos is special advisor to Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent. I wonder what I wonder what position Scott Bessent has Korkos assuming. But anyway, so since joining Musk's DOGE, Korkos has told IRS workers that he wants to pause all engineering work, cancel all current attempts to modernize the agency's systems. So basically, they're going to do it themselves. Scroll down to below Elon's empire. I just want to read this one sentence. Korkos has discussed plans for DOGE to build, quote, one new API to rule them all, end quote.
Wow.
So within 30 days, they're one ring to rule them all, to complete their Lord of the Rings metaphor. This is why I said Palantir is not the one ring.
So that's why they're saying DOGE is ending in May. That's why, because it'll be done by then what they're trying to do. It has nothing to do with getting rid of Elon Musk.
No. Palantir's One Ring program will be done in 3 weeks, because this article is a week old. Palantir's One Ring program will be done in 3 weeks. They are Sauron. They created, they create the One Ring. They're casting the One Ring in their foundry.
So that explains why they kept saying that Elon Musk is going to be done in May. I knew that was a false story. I knew it was.
And so this API or application, what was it? I can't even remember now. I had to look it up specially for the show. Application
programming interface.
Yes. And so that will be done in 3 weeks, and it will basically unify, allegedly, all IRS systems into one. I wonder what all the IRS agents, those new IRS agents.
So that means
and weapons
Palantir
are
will
for.
have taxpayer names, addresses, social security numbers, tax return, and employment data, your job data, where you work, will all be put into Palantir's database for identification through Palantir Gotham if you are a terrorist sympathizer, as Sebastian Gorka said. Right?
What was the ICE? No, was it ICE? I can't remember now where they said they were talking
And the government's
about...
always had this information, obviously, but now it's hand delivered directly to Peter Thiel, directly to Palantir. Which Palantir,
you brought up.
I do want to say, through the use of the gospel and lavender and who's daddy to murder Palestinians, you don't think Palantir Gotham's going to be used here with all this data, your health data, your work data, your psychographical data? All that's not going to be used for you to be a threat. If you're speaking anti-Semitism, if you're preaching the true gospel, they're going to use the gospel to eliminate you. See how insidious that is?
It was the article you pulled up where they had an ad on the college campuses, and it said something, it was like build a database of known communities or something, right? Well, that's exactly what all this IRS data is going to help them accomplish. Yeah.
Well, this is not good.
They're not. This is, I'm going to break my own rule here. I literally just preached against this, but the situation reminds me of a fictional franchise where essentially someone doesn't show up for court, and one of the people who's sitting there waiting for the person to show up to court realizes, wait a minute, they didn't show up because they don't intend to suffer the consequences of being caught. And then the courthouse, like, boom, right? And all the witnesses are gone. And so, I have to wonder if they're not even bothering to hide it anymore, or were they ever in the first place? Who knows? But
no,
this is a big, like this, the whole phrase, one API to rule them all. These people choose their Lord of the Rings metaphors very carefully. They're nerds. They can't help it. If they said the wrong thing, it would probably hurt, their glasses would break. You know what I mean?
So let's finish this last paragraph, okay? And we'll be done. Palantir received the highest FedRAMP approval this past December for its entire product suite, including Palantir Federal Cloud Service, which provides a cloud environment for federal agencies to implement the company's software platforms like Gotham and Foundry. FedRAMP stands for Federal Risk and Authorization Management Program and accesses cloud products for security risk before governmental use. We love disruption, and whatever's good for America will be good for Americans and very good for Palantir, Palantir CEO Alex Karp said in a February's earnings call. Disruption at the end of the day exposes things that aren't working. There'll be ups and downs. This is a revolution. Some people are going to get their heads cut off. Now, I've played that clip of Karp saying that specifically.
Sure, John, that last line, do you want to just repeat that so people...
Yeah, some people are going to get their heads cut off, like the saints in Revelation during the Great Tribulation, right? The beheading of the saints, right? Just saying, some people are going to get their heads cut off, harking back to guillotines, harking back to the French Revolution.
Yeah, I was going to say, now, John, they're just talking like Robespierre. This isn't spiritual war.
Harking back to the Jacobins, and
the Masons.
So there you go. I mean, this is a revolution. Some people are going to get their heads cut off. So this truly shows what DOGE was, which DOGE was to dismantle and destroy the United States government and institutions.
John, I can't help but I have to plug our friend Jimmy Jean here.
Go ahead.
Because 3 days ago, our friend Jimmy Jean from Into the
Shout out, Jimmy. I love you, brother.
I don't know if he's out there. He might be listening. You never know. He's probably at work, though. He's been writing a book. And in his book, he had to replace Trump and Elon's name with different characters' names. But essentially, he's telling the exact same story here. And it was funny because one of the sentences that he wrote really stands out to me right now. And in his book, essentially, the main character is a radio show host like him. and a caller calls in and is describing the president and his technology advisor, Trump and Musk. We'll just call him, anyway, Trump and Musk. And so the caller kind of describes them as that the platform, we'll call it the one platform to rule them all. He sort of describes the president isn't who people were voting for. It was that he was sort of the install wizard, the thing that makes the installation of the program go smoothly. That was his only purpose, right? Trump's only purpose was to get Palantir in, right? It was his job to install the software into the system that would then be the future ruler of the country or whatever, right? Whether it's shadow or what, so whether it's covert or overt, whether people know it or not, right? Whether, in the future, a president will probably just have, a box in his pocket, and the AI will tell him, make this announcement. You're doing this next. Sign this document. Who knows, right? But Jimmy's excellent little book that he wrote, he kind of describes that the Elon Musk characters like activating the AI or whatever, and the president's like, "What are you doing?" And he's like, "Activating your leash." It's kind of true, right? Like, because if you've collected all this data and you can blackmail everyone, well, Trump's part of everyone too, right? And so are all of his minions and his Secret Service and, everyone.
As Lovecat said in the chat, you'll never have to vote again, my beautiful Christians, as Trump said. You'll never have to vote again. So there you go. That's so true.
Yeah, once you elect the AI leader, it's there for life, right?
And it's coming in one way, shape, or form. Anything you want to say in closing, S90?
The One Ring will be completed. Sauron will have poured his One Ring in his foundry in 3 weeks.
So we'll see what exactly that means and what that entails. So just maybe in 3 weeks or to a month, just things start getting a little more rockier. That might be why.
Yeah.
That might be why.
I don't know, guys, but we'll see. That's a pretty big admission. They're basically telling you the Sauron is telling you the One Ring will be ready in 3 weeks.
And ultimately, it's up to God anyway. It's not up to them. So, all right, everybody, take care. God bless. We'll see you soon. Take care. Bye.
God bless everyone.